Coast? They thought the 3 dogs had surrounded their daughter for attention. The pediatric neurologist said they were 22 minutes ahead of every human in the room. It started on a Saturday. The Okonkwo family had 3 dogs. Pumbaa, an 8-year-old English bulldog, heavy and philosophical. Remy, a 5-year-old mixed breed with the long-legged energy of a dog who has never successfully sat still. And Dot, a 3-year-old beagle with the nose of a professional and the stubbornness to match. Coast, they had coexisted with 2-year-old Ada since her birth in an arrangement that, by any objective measure, was going well. The dogs accepted Ada. Ada accepted the dogs. There was a mutual understanding. Ada could reach their ears. The dogs could reach Ada's food. Dozed. Saturday morning was ordinary. Ada was in the living room in her purple long-sleeve shirt, working on the project she had been working on all week, which was understanding how blocks could be stacked before she knocked them down. Coast, Chukwemeka, her father, Chidi, and everyone called him that, was in the kitchen. His wife Adeze was folding laundry in the bedroom. The 3 dogs were distributed around the living room in their usual positions. Pumbaa on the rug, Remy by the window, Dot investigating a corner near the bookshelf. Normal. Coast. Then, without trigger or explanation, all 3 moved. Coast. They moved toward Ada. Not rushing, not playing. A slow, convergent approach that Chidi, walking in from the kitchen with a glass of water, stopped to watch. Because he had never seen them do it, all 3 dogs reached Ada's position and formed a loose circle around her, not touching her, not making sounds. Coast. Just surrounding her and going still. Ada looked at them. She said something and sounded like uh-oh, in the tone she used when things became unexpectedly complicated. Chidi almost laughed. He pulled out his phone to take a picture. He thought, this is a good video. He stood in the kitchen doorway, filming. Coast. Pumbaa's blunt, wrinkled face was oriented directly at Ada. His thick body was low, not sitting, not lying, just lowered. The specific positioning of a dog that is committed to a position without deciding what the next step is. Coast. Remy was facing Ada from the left, his usual animation completely absent. Dot was behind Ada, nose working in the rapid and purposeful way she used when she was tracking something specific. All 3 of them were pointed at Ada in a way that had no precedent. Coast. Ada looked at Pumbaa. She reached toward his nose. Pumbaa let her touch it, which was normal, and then turned his face back to whatever he had been reading, which was not normal. Coast. Chidi stopped filming. The picture he had taken was on his camera roll, and he hadn't looked at it yet. He walked into the living room. He crouched down. Pumbaa's wet brown eyes moved toward him without his body moving. Something in the dog's posture communicated, with unusual clarity. This is not a moment to come closer. Coast. This is a moment to pay attention. Chidi said, Ada, babe, come here. Ada didn't come. She was looking at the dogs with the expression she used for things that were interesting and slightly confusing, which was a look that on another day would have been extremely funny. He picked her up. Coast? She felt warm. Not the warmth of a toddler who has been running around. The specific different warmth of a temperature that has decided to go somewhere. He put his palm on her forehead, then the back of his neck against her cheek, the way his mother had done it. He called Adeze. Coast. Ada's temperature was 38.9 degrees Celsius when they checked it. 18 minutes later, it was 39.6 degrees Celsius. Coast. 22 minutes after that, in the car on the way to urgent care, Ada's body experienced her first febrile seizure, a brief, alarming, ultimately not uncommon event in which a rapidly rising temperature causes a neurological response. She recovered within 90 seconds. Coast. She was evaluated, observed, and discharged with instructions and a follow-up. Coast. Dr. Priscilla Ng, pediatric neurology, reviewed the case at the follow-up appointment. She explained febrile seizures, their causes, their management, their prognosis. Then she asked a question she always asked, what made you check her temperature? Chidi told her about the dogs. Coast. Dr. Ng was quiet for a moment. She said the temperature was probably beginning to climb 20 to 25 minutes before the first reading you took. Coast. Dogs are known to detect the subtle physiological changes. The chemical shift in sweat, the change in skin radiation, possibly the early olfactory signature of elevated inflammatory response that precede a fever becoming measurable. Coast. If the 3 of them all responded at the same time, they were likely all reading the same signal. 22 minutes, Chidi said. Before we knew anything. That's consistent, Dr. Ng said. Coast. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in exactly the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Coast. The 3 dogs were not trying to comfort Ada. They were not playing. They had gathered around her the way a monitoring system gathers around a patient, with purpose and with patience, and with no ability to explain themselves in any language that would have made the adults act faster. Coast. They had done the only thing available to them. They had surrounded the source of the information, and they had gone still and they had waited for someone to come and look. Coast, has your dog or your dogs ever reacted to your child in a way that turned out to mean something? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Coast. The photo is still on Chidi's phone. He pulls it out sometimes. 3 dogs, a purple-shirted toddler, a living room on an ordinary Saturday. Everyone in the frame is calm. Nobody looks alarmed. Coast. Every garden deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never ask for anything in return. Subscribe so you never miss the next one. Coast. Ada said uh-oh, because something had arrived that she couldn't name. The dogs had been saying the same thing, in the only language they had, for 22 minutes before anyone listened.